In this session, we will look at the cross-section reports and limits of construction. And the objectives here are to create various cross-section reports for planned use, also as input for other programs and Geopak applications and for construction layout. This particular report utility can extract up to 16 different reports based on parameters that we are going to put in for existing and or design cross sections. We also are provided with the option to create a custom header that we can use for each one of these reports from a pull down within the tool. So let's go into a MicroStation file and look at how this works. We're going to access our project manager, open project manager, open our project, and we will find the cross-section reports and quantities at the bottom right-hand corner of the box. Now, this particular tool has to be opened within a cross-section file. If we're not in a cross-section file, it will bring up an error message and say that this is a cross-section tool only. Once we move this down, we can look at this is our cross-section toolbox. The first thing we have is user preferences. In user preferences, we have several options here that relate to any of the reports that are going to be created. First of all, we have actually 3 different date formats: month, day, year, year, month, day, and year. So we can choose the format for the date. We also have 3 separate lines for header. Put a company name in here, agency name, put information about the project, whatever information you want to add to the top of each report. If you toggle this on, it will number the pages. We have a tolerance. This is a connectivity tolerance for MicroStation. I'm going to set that at 0.01. We have a radius of the circle that's going to actually go across each cross section. And this is the important toggle here. One of the most important toggles here is the just output file extension according to the report. What this allows is whenever you go into the many different reports that you can generate, we talked about 16 different reports, it actually will put the extension that's associated with that particular report and does it automatically. Okay, so we want that toggled on. Once this information is filled out, we're going to close this and look at our different reports. Now, the first report is blue top, red top report. In all of these reports, you will see that we have our job number, our alignment, the beginning and ending station is put in here. We have the option to go to the right of this. If we don't want to use the entire length of the alignment, we can go in and put a beginning and ending station that we want to generate a report for. It also needs it also needs the existing ground information and proposed finished grade information. So if I click on this box, this little tool right here, I need to go in and set all of this information. And so I'm going to zoom in on a cross section. I'm going to select all of these parameters, select match, choose one of these lines, accept it, and then I can close that box. I have to do the same thing for proposed finished grade. Select the box, choose all the features, do a match, select each line that I want included in proposed finished grade. It puts that information in here, and then I can close that box. Now you'll notice that I can do blue top or red top. The blue top refers to the top of the pavement. The red top will refer to the top of the subgrade. I've got also yellow, table, cross sections, or create a CSV file. You'll notice that when I go from blue top to red top, it changes the extension of that particular report. Okay. I can do cross-section text, enter cross-section text and header information. store in the GPK file. Once this information is entered in here, then it has to be added to the collection field for it to be effective. Our next tool is clearing. What the clearing report does is allows us to generate a report for clearing and grubbing. The same information applies here. You'll notice that once we have entered this information in that first blue top red top report, it is automatically entered in the rest of these tools. So we don't have to do it over and over again. In the clearing report, we also have clearing distances. We got a certain cut slope rounding information, additional clearing we can put in cut and fill, and then the minimum clearing width. If we have that, once these are toggled on, then you have the ability to enter values in the boxes to the right. We can do it subtotal stations. We can do it by increment or even stations. We can do a sub every so many feet or so many stations and do the first sub at a particular station. We also have the option of exception widths. So we can do a begin and end station and a width and add those values the same way with this add button to the collection field. So if we have multiple exception widths, we can enter that information here. Additional distance via station, we do that by the same method, beginning and ending station, the width, and whether it's a side left, right, or we can do both sides left and right. But once again, that information needs to be added using the add button. Also, if we have information in here and we modify that information, we can do that through the modify button. We see that we have a CLR report that's going to be generated. If you want to pause on each cross section, you can select this button. If not, then it will run through the entire cross section file without stopping. We have a DTM input file. We have information here. This information has to do with our proposed. We can also do the existing if we wanted that. But this particular one is looking at proposed. It's proposed DAT. It creates a DAT file that can be used with the DTM tools to create a 10 file. Once we have this information in, you hit apply and it goes through and reads only the elements that we have shown here. So we'll create a proposed 10. We also have proposed or DTM proposed 3D. This is the same, basically the same tool as the DTM input, with the exception of the fact that you can also include in this report your existing ground. So you can include the existing ground and the proposed finished grade. The next is HEC2. This is a file or a tool that will create an ASCII file that can be used with the HEC2 hydraulic program. Likewise, we have one, HECRAS, creates the same type of ASCII file that can be used in conjunction with HECRAS hydraulic programs. The multi-line tool is used for stage construction. If you want to use or you have stage construction, we can actually go in and put in different types of information. Primary cross-section parameters can be completed, and then the secondary parameters. In other words, the primaries being the top of proposed finished grade, secondary being things like the bottom of the pavement. This information is added one at a time, with primary being first, secondary being second, and say apply. The profile grade tool is probably one of the most versatile tools that we have in this list of tools. Prints existing ground and design grade elevations and low point elevations in each one of the cross sections. It also has the ability to search either the for low points or any text string that may be in the cross section. We can do by criteria elements, store a horizontal alignment, left chain, right chain. Keep in mind that whenever these alignments are stored, and these will be stored, can be stored in the GPK file whenever they're stored. These horizontal alignments are not stored with curves. So no curves will be stored, only line segments. You also have search text. If you have certain text that appears in your cross section, such as this mark point 43, you can ask it to go search for each 43 and create alignment with that. Very, very versatile tool. You also have offset. You can do an offset as well. Go over so many feet left to right, and then hit apply, and you have this information also stored in a proposed.pgr file for profile grade. We have radial staking. The radial staking tool is a tool that it creates a specialized report created specifically for the FHWA, or Federal Highway Administration, and creates a report based on their format needs. The RT40 report, this report works within the RDS, or creates a report that can be used with RDS, Roadway Design System. We also have a seeding report. The seeding report, we have basically the same entries up here that we've had before in previous dialog boxes, with the exception that now we have also the addition of candidate seeding elements. So wherever we're going to need seeding elements, for instance, the back of curve or the slope, the proposed slope, these elements can be added in this field. We have max allowable slope, subtotal split slope. We can do this with increment or even, subtotal every so many feet, and first subtotal at a particular station. We can also use bypass segments. We can bypass certain areas and put additional distance via station and additional distances. And you'll notice that this is a proposed SER report, or seeding report. We have slope staking, another FHWA format report. You got report formats, different types. FHWA version 1. We have version 2, special report format for Nebraska, DOR, and Wyoming. We have staking detail. Staking detail, the tie-down points between proposed finished grade and existing ground. I'll give you this list. We have the additional formats, this one for FHWA once again, and this one for the Montana DOT. We also have the WISPro. If we select WISPro, it creates an ASCII file that's used, or can be used, with the WISPro hydraulic analysis program. And finally, we have cross-section list. Cross-section list will allow us to do a separate report, a cross-section list report for either original cross-section list or a design cross-section list. And so a lot of times this particular report is asked for by contractors. It'll start on one side of the left-hand side of the cross-section and run across the cross-section, giving the offsets and elevation for each PI point. And we have one for proposed, and we have one also generated for original. Once you've changed this for original, you need to go in and change these parameters for original, for the existing ground, and then change them once again for design cross-section list. All right. Now that we've done this, that concludes our review of our cross-section reports. The next thing we're going to look at is excavation limits. How do we establish the excavation limits in our file? When we do this, we're going to go back to our project manager. And the project manager just to the left of cross-section reports, we have limits of construction. And what this allows us to do, we get our run box, and we're going to say, okay, we're going to utilize the untitled run box, and we get limits of construction. It wants to know our job number, our alignment. It gives us the current station, which is 0, and the station limits 0 to 16. We also have the ability here to go in and put whatever station range we want. If we don't want to choose the entire station length, we're going to set our station tolerance to 0.1. And we're going to place this information in our plan view. We want this information placed in our plan view. We have our existing ground information here. We have our proposed information here as far as our search criteria. Our plot parameters. How do we want this to look? Well, in this case, we're going to say the cut we want to have displayed in orange. The fill we're going to display in a green color. And the transition between cut and fill we're going to display in a yellow. Offset from center line, we're going to place the construction limits. We can also label the plot parameters if we want to with whatever information we want, cut, fill, suffix, and prefix. Say OK once these are filled out. And we're going to hit apply. When we hit apply, it takes us, and you can see it reading across each one of the cross sections. And as it does this, it is drawing the lines in our plan view that show us where all these tie-down points are, and it takes us to our plan view so that we can look at this. Pull this down, we'll zoom in on this area. You'll notice that it gives us the offset, left and right and white. And here are our green line and orange line for our cut and fill, and our yellow line for our transition between the two. So this will show us the limits of our construction. It's a very handy tool to make sure that we don't get outside of our proposed right-of-way at any one of these locations. And that will conclude our review of our reports, our cross-section reports, and limits of construction tools.